Welcome back to Raise the Praise, where we choose to reclaim our joy and thrive in every area of our lives. That's physically, mentally, financially, and spiritually, to do all that God is calling us to do with a spirit of excellence. I'm your host, Jennifer Bell. I am a wife, a mom of 3 amazing human beings, a former school administrator, and an ex-dieter turned health and wellness faith influencer. Listen, I want you to know that God is concerned about our health and our well-being. He says so right in His Word, 3 John 2. I also want you to know the definition of health is not just the absence of disease or infirmity. Health is the condition of being sound in our minds, bodies, and our spirit. Listen in each week as we aim to encourage you to live the life you deserve, get your mind, your body, and your spirit in alignment, activate your faith to truly thrive in every area of your life. I'm so glad that you are here. Let's get ready for today's episode. Well, welcome back to Raise the Praise. I am so excited today to have my special guest, Tiffany Moore, with me, and it brings me great pleasure for you all to hear her Courage to Heal story. You know, the last few episodes, I've featured some of my sister friends that we met through a program, Patrice Washington's program. And you've heard their stories, but wait until you hear Tiffany's story today. Tiffany Moore. Many people know her for her straight shooter, no chaser approach. She is unapologetic in her faith and walking boldly in her calling. She recently released her new book, Better Together Playbook, which is a resource to help you cultivate your relationship with God, yourself, and your partner. Now, once again, she is a transformational speaker. She is a certified Christian life coach. And I met Tiffany through one of Patrice Washington's program, her premier program is what I'm going to say, platform. And I'm so excited for her to be with us today to share her story. Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thank you for having me, Jennifer.
I can't wait for us to dive into this because, y'all, what Tiffany is going to share, she's going to share how her Courage to Heal story has to do with her marriage and infidelity and how she chose to forgive and allow her faith, lean into her faith to get to the point where she rebuilt her marriage, and also how that kind of turned into a purpose for her. So I can't wait to hear all about that. So Tiffany, let's just jump right into it and tell us, first of all, how did you meet the love of your life?
Well, again, thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me. And I met him actually through my dreams. Let me explain that for you. I remember we was in college and, and I was seeking the Lord about who did He have for me, the right person for me. And I went to sleep that night and He showed me this image of this tall guy in this green shirt, these pair of blue jeans, and these ugly brown shoes, right? And so, I got up, the next day I was like, I don't know who this is. I've never seen this guy, but okay, Lord, we're going to go with it. And so I went to, we was in college, like I mentioned, and I went to work. I was working in the Perry cafeteria. And this guy walked through the door with the green shirt, pair of blue jeans, and these ugly brown shoes. And he's tall. He was very tall. And I was like, okay, Lord, this is the guy that you showed me in my dream. And, and I shared it with a couple of friends during that time. And, I didn't think nothing else of it, just kind of just watched them, through his, day-to-day, how he would come in, see who was hanging around, kind of figure out what it was about. And then, so I got the courage enough to ask him his name. And he told me his name. And then from there, it was history. So I met him in my dreams, honestly. God revealed him to me. And we just started the conversation, got to know each other. We attended the same college, graduated college. So we were college sweethearts.
College sweetheart. Oh my goodness. As you were sharing how you met your husband, that's kind of like parallels my story of meeting my husband in college. And he was my first boyfriend and all of that. I saw him from afar. You may have seen yours in a dream, but I actually wrote everything I was looking for. Said, Lord, you said we can ask you anything. This is what I would like in my partner. And I wrote it down.
Wow.
Fit the bill. I not only said I wanted him to be tall, I wanted him to be taller than me with heels on. My husband is 6'4", I'm just saying. so,
Yes.
so God does answer our prayers. So I love that. So you guys were college sweethearts. So now you guys are married and you're going through and you're living your life and that American dream, if you will, and just doing the things. Were you all in church together as well?
Yes, we was in church.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm sure you were serving in ministry and life is great, right? Well,
right.
Something happened for the reason why you're on my show talking about having the courage to heal, right? Take us to that moment. Take us to that.
Okay. So that moment, because, we got married right after college. So we was young. We was like in our early 20s. Didn't know about marriage. The only thing we know, it was husband and wife. You get married and you honor God. That's all we know. We just know what we saw. And so doing it, just freshly graduating and not really understanding what marriage is and what marriage is about, I stepped out in marriage. It was me. And so, he was working. He has this work ethic and he works. And so during that time, being real young and not understanding that, he's providing for his family. He's taking care of his family. And I stepped out in the marriage, and so with that, all came a lot of different things. And so I confessed that to him, telling him that, hey, I have something to tell you. I messed up. And during that time, it was real hard for us because I actually broke his heart. And the thing was when I told him that, he was upset, of course, like normal, right? Upset. He left and he came back. But when he came back, he told me, he said, Tiffany, he said, I love you. He said, and God told me I can't leave you because you need me.
Wow. Stop right there. First of all, you said you stepped out of the marriage. And, at this point, those that are listening, it doesn't matter how she stepped out. The point is she did not honor her marriage. You broke a vow or something like that. But the fact that he came back and said God told him, how did you feel at that moment?
I felt like a little child. I felt like God cares about us even when we mess up. To hear him say that, it allowed me to see God from a different perspective. It allowed me to see him not only as a God that provides, but a God that cares. And even when you messed up, he's still God.
My God.
He's your father. And he's not like your earthly fathers. He is your father for real. He's going to be there for you no matter what. And God knew the person that I would be and the person that I would become. He knew that during that time I was still learning and that I was still growing like I am now, still growing. And he told him, she needs you. It was like this, y'all are destiny. Y'all are for my purpose. And I'm not going to let anybody tear that apart. So when he said that, I knew that it wasn't nobody but God.
I'm reminded of that scripture that says, what God has put together, let no man put asunder. That includes us.
Yes.
No matter if God has put us together, first of all, that's beautiful. And I'm trying not to cry because I just felt that when you said that no matter how we mess up or what we do, God is always there to be there and forgive us. And I'm so grateful that, your husband could have dismissed that.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times we have every reason to not do X, Y, and Z, right? But we have to be obedient to God's voice, even over what we feel is right. Right. But at the same time, that is so beautiful. So now take me through to the point where, okay, there has to be some forgiveness going on, even forgiving yourself. What was the process after he came back? Like what, were y'all just like, okay, we're back to normal. We're just doing our thing. I'm so happy you're here, honey. Or did you overcompensate in some way, just trying to make sure that you can trust me? I'm here for you, those types of things.
Well, first of all, I started out reaching out to like our spiritual advisors, really getting into the word of God, seeking God. And this is where we really develop our relationship with God even more. We went deeper into our faith, into the word, and we started learning what marriage is from God's perspective and what that looked like and how you have a Christ-centered marriage and how do you honor that marriage and how do you honor your vows and how you make sure that you protect your home And so I had to learn the role of a wife. He had to learn the role of a husband and what marriage looked like for us. And so, and we began that journey, and it took a lot of writing. Like we had a journal where we wrote our thoughts and things like that. And that's really how I started writing. I got into writing during that time. And we had date nights. We played these games, had these hard conversations, answered these hard questions. And, it was some questions that we had to ask one another, and we had to be okay with the answer. And it was really us committing to it. Like we literally had to commit that no matter what, we can get through this. And even if I felt like he was distant, I allowed him to feel that way. I allowed him to do that because I broke his heart, and he had to trust me with his heart. And so whatever space he needed, I had to give that space to him. And I had to understand that it's a journey, it's a process. And once we came to that conclusion, once we start that healing process, speaking to people that's Christ-centered, Christ-focused, and growing and learning each other and committing to that, then we began on our journey of healing. And we embraced on that journey, and we decided that, hey, if we're going to have a Christ-centered marriage, then we need to eliminate anything that would get in the way of that. And that includes some friendships, that include some relationships. And that's what we did, because at that moment, I wanted my marriage. I wanted my family. I wanted what God has for me, and I wanted God more than anything. Ooh. And so, that's where it started.
Yeah, I can imagine, how long were you married before this happened? How many years?
We were two years.
Okay, so brand new in the marriage. I can imagine some of the friends saying, even to him, maybe, you need to leave her, or you've heard that once people step out of their marriage, they'll do it again. And all these things that you hear, because the enemy doesn't want Christian marriages related anyway. You wonder why the Christian marriage is just as equal to the percentage of non-Christian marriages, the divorce rate. But we have to fight. With everything. And especially when we're, this is what I like to say. I'll never forget, I was 16 and my pastor at the time was talking about marriage and 3 things that you need in a marriage. Any one of them goes lacking, you're going to have issues. He said, communication, finances, and intimacy. And if you really think about it, that first one, communication, you have to have communication for the other 2 to work as well. But I love when you said that you all went to some type of therapy or counseling together, and you start to journal, because a lot of times in our culture too, we hold everything in. We don't talk to each other. We can't read each other's mind. A lot of times we dismiss the fact of the power behind writing out your feelings, writing out and even sharing that with your partner without fear of criticism or fear of judgment or fear of, hurting somebody's feelings. But if you don't get it out how you truly feel, then are you really walking in as one, And so I'm sure that was a difficult process, but a necessary one.
Yes.
Right? Because without it, who knows where y'all would be.
Exactly.
So I love that you said you guys, like you said, you went and you sat down got some Christian counseling, wisdom from others who could really show you in the Word. And you also said y'all got into the Word.
Yes.
You got deep into the Word. Because I am of this belief, everything that we need, everything we go through or will ever go through, we can find it in the Word. But it's going to take some discipline. It's going to take some commitment. And the fact that both of y'all decided you wanted this marriage, because it takes 2.
Yes.
I don't know who coined that phrase that marriage is 50-50. No, it's not. No. It's 100-100. You got to bring your A game. I'm going to bring my A game. And many times it may be 120 to 100. The point is somebody always has to be on to help hold up the other person. But all that to say, marriage is beautiful. It is honorable in the sight of God. And with God, I'm reminded of the triangle, right? We always talk about this, but I know me growing up, we didn't have Christian counseling, marriage counseling before we got married. It was just all who we saw, right? But you have God at the top of this triangle. You have the wife and the husband. As long as we're both reaching towards him, we will get there. So let's move to the point where, okay, you rebuilt your marriage. You guys are doing great. Now you've been married for how long at this point?
It'll be 13 years next month.
13 years.
Yeah.
Look at God. Won't he do it? Won't he? Don't tell me God won't restore marriages. Yes, he will. He will honor our faith. Because if, first of all, you had to lean into your faith, there had to be some forgiveness, and forgiveness not only just with words. There's a healing process that goes along with that that I heard you talk about. And it's not to say, let me just park right here for a second. Just because you forgive, you don't ever forget. Right? It's just the incident or the experience doesn't have a hold on you that takes you back to where you were feeling and how you acted or whatever the case may be in your husband at the time. You make a conscious choice to walk in forgiveness, right?
Yes.
And step into your healing and towards prosperity and everything that God has for you all. So before we move on to how all this kind of turned into your purpose, what are you and your husband doing together now?
But now we have our own store where we actually, sell different Christian resources and clothing line to empower leaders and entrepreneurs on their journey. And we also serve on the marriage ministry at our church.
What you say?
Yes. So we have new couples who are who think about getting into that process. We serve on that level at our church. So we literally take our story and use it to help other couples to go ahead and set that framework for marriage. So when you get into it, you won't be all over the place and not knowing what you're doing, because it's a lot and it can become tricky if you don't have the right things in place. And we love it.
That is so beautiful. That just goes to show you that what the enemy may have meant for evil, God can turn it around for good. And look how your story is helping young married couple or soon to be married couples to understand that, hey, you're going to have some ups and downs in this marriage. And just because you say I do at the altar and you have the beautiful wedding or whatever it is, honey, the real work begins after the honeymoon. And if you don't have that, like you said, that framework or a solid foundation as to why the marriage and the purpose of your marriage, that's one thing we don't talk a lot about, is marriage has a purpose, not just to multiply and the earth, but there is a purpose. When God brings two people together, he already knows where we are to go. Like you said, y'all's business. I bet back then you didn't foresee a business working with your husband. And look how God has blessed it. And you got this book that you've written. Talk to us about that a little bit.
But this book, Better Together, it is the two words that fit our story. It's the story of no matter what you go through, you will always be better together. And this book is to help you not only to cultivate your marriage or your relationship, but to also come into alignment with who you truly are, yourself. And also to help you to build that relationship with God too, because a lot of times we struggle with that. Especially when we think that, hey, I done messed up. God don't want anything to do with me. But that is so far from the truth. That is when he wants you the most, is when you mess up. Because he wants you to know that he loves you no matter what. And so this book I call it a playbook because it has the framework, the questions that we went through to rebuild our marriage. It has the questions that I went through to build my relationship with God and to come into touch with what he wanted me to do. So it's like a self-development workbook where you're going to read, you're going to be inspired, but you're going to also have the hard conversations.
I love it. And it's the hard conversation that makes us stronger.
Yes.
It makes us, get to the point where we are better together when we work together. I love that. I love that. And so I know when you were going through your rebuilding of your marriage process, well, I'm going to assume this, that you may have come across some limiting beliefs about, can I really do this? Or, God, especially writing this book, I don't know if you had any type of, if you question God, are you sure you want me to write this book? Or, did you have those type of limiting beliefs as to what your purpose would come out and be what it is right now?
Yes, because before I created this workbook that I created, I also have the book before it. And that was the process where I went through really telling everything, sharing the story. And I struggled with forgiveness from him because I didn't believe that he would forgive me. Like I asked him every day during that time, do you really forgive me? And he was like, yes, Tiffany, I forgive you. And he was like, you have to believe that I forgive you. He said, but you also have to forgive yourself. And see, and that was the struggle. It was a struggle of me forgiving myself. And so I dealt with that for so long. And even when I wrote the first book, Beauty in the Struggle, I was still dealing with forgiving myself. And I took my journal, the things that I wrote out to God, and God turned that journal into this devotional book, Beauty in the Struggle. And so you see these real conversations and you see God's response to those conversations.
I can't wait to get it. I didn't know you had well, listen, y'all.
Yeah.
We need to have a Purpose to Platform Sisters Library because of the books that are being birthed through our experiences, through, because I do believe that, people say that your pain can become your purpose, your message, all is true, your testimony. And as you were sharing, it sounded like me, the book that I'm currently writing was a lot of the journaling that I did when I was caring for my mother that is now turning into a book because of my prayers that I wrote to God. What was I feeling? My emotions.
Right.
If you can't be honest with yourself, it's really hard to get past the incident or the trauma or whatever it is that you're going through, because the enemy would love to keep us right there in our little shell, just hiding behind the ashes when God wants to give us beauty for everything that we've gone through. And so I can't wait to get the book, number one. And trust me, you all, I'm going to have all of her information in the show notes. You want to grab her book. You want to stay in touch with Tiffany. Just kind of hang tight. Don't forget to check out the show notes. So as we get ready to wrap up, your purpose now, tell us, what are you doing right now? Are you using your book to help other people heal? Is that your program? What is Tiffany up to right now?
What I'm up to now is basically using my books to help people heal. And the reason why I started with books is because when I started my journey of healing, I bought books. Like, I got so many books, and that's what I invested in. And when I think about the person that may be in that same space as then I was like, well, they would want books. They would want to be able to read and be able to get an understanding. And so I spend my time writing. I spend my time writing the books, creating resources to help them to step out and heal and step into what God has created them to do. Like, I love working and empowering wives. That's my jam, because I believe
wives. Yes.
Because I believe as a wife, you go through so many changes. You go through so many limiting beliefs, so many ups and downs. And sometimes you can really lose yourself if you're not careful. And that's where I believe that God placed me to serve and to minister to. And that's where I feel the most joy of doing.
If y'all can see her face right now, it's just lit up as she's explaining what her purpose is and what she so enjoys. It's all over her face, the biggest smile. Her eyes are bright, and just makes me smile as well. Because when you begin to walk in your purpose, there's just no other feeling like it. It's refreshing. It's refreshing to see when you do walk unapologetically, boldly, with clarity, unhindered, unchecked by any demonic force, if you will, and keep going towards God, because it's not about the results. That's up to God. We just walk in obedience to what God is calling us to do and leave the results up to Him. We just show up, and I can see you doing that every single day. I watch you on IG and all of that. So here's my final question that I'm starting to ask all of my guests that are sharing their stories is, what does having the courage to heal, because that's my signature program. It's going to be Courage to Heal Ministries, right? What does having the courage to heal mean to you?
Wow, that's a loaded question, but I'm going to simplify it for you. What it means to me is to be able to own your mistakes, take responsibility for your part, and have enough courage to admit that, and a courage to receive the healing and the forgiveness from the pain.
I'm trying to hold it together.
Yes.
Having the courage to receive the healing, because God is always there with His arms open wide. Come to me.
Yes.
Bring me your burdens. Lay them at my feet. But we hold on to it because we can't forgive ourselves. But
exactly.
I love how you said that. Have the courage to allow the healing to take place and know that He's never going to leave us. He's not going to just drop us. And again, like you said at the beginning of this our conversation, you said God didn't throw us away because of the mistakes that we made. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful. That was beautiful, Tiffany. I'm so happy we had a chance to come together for you to share your story on the podcast. And y'all, please, whatever you do, go follow her. She's on IG at I am Tiffany Moore. Right.
Tiffany Moore.
And again, I'm going to place her information, her website in the show notes. Go and get the book. I plan on getting it myself and just add it to my P2P shelf, if you will. So happy for you. And I'm really elated about the work that you're doing because it's much needed. Even now, as young people are getting married, we would be married 32 years coming up this year. And I still think God is amazing. He's amazing. And I tell people, I not only love my husband, I really like him a whole lot. I really do. So with that being said, thank you so much, Tiffany, for joining us on the program today. And I wish you well, much success. And I'm just looking for God to do great and mighty things through your business, through your work, and especially through married couples and the resources that you have for them. So y'all be blessed, and we will check in with you guys next time. Hey friends, thanks so much for sharing your time with me today. Real quick, before you go, if you found value in today's podcast and something resonated with you, would you leave me a 5-star review and subscribe on iTunes? I am thanking you in advance, and I look forward to reading each and every one of your reviews. You can find me at raisethepraisepodcast.com or join my Facebook group, Choose to Praise. Until next time, remember to choose joy and raise the praise in every area of your life.